Hello everyone, welcome to MLAS 800. This is Learning Activity 10, and this week we're going to do a lecture and a lab, and we'll go ahead and get us started with the lecture for Learning Activity 10, where we are going to cover what we're going to be building out for our lab. So the objectives for us this for this week is we're going to build out. We're going to continue on with building out what we've been extending what we've been building rather, and we're going to take it to the next level. And we're going to create. We're going to extend our Python code by allowing our large language model that we've been working with, Dolly, to have a conversation with itself. And so this is, I kind of was, my original thought was I was going to have a spin a server up, which we did do last week, but, and then I was going to build out an ability for us to interact with that server. But the more I got to thinking about it, I thought it'd be kind of more fun for us to just build something kind of cool. So I was like, well, let's just extend our architecture where we have the large language model have a conversation with itself. And how cool is that, right? So anyway, I kind of went a different direction, and that's what had a little bit of a delay in getting the lab out. So that's what we're going to build. We're going to extend our large language model such that it has an ability to have a conversation with itself. And it's going to be, it'll be fun. So we're going to, of course, high level, what we're going to be doing is using Python. And that's what we've been sticking with. We're not going to change anything up on that in that regard. We're not adding any extra languages, any extra layering. We're going to use what we've got and just extend it out. And we'll be using Google Colab, so we'll just keep doing that, which has actually worked out pretty well. I did originally want to get into LM Studio and building that out, but it's just not really ready for prime time yet. I just kept running into um, buggy code, buggy outcomes. I think maybe next year, maybe after it gets a little bit more seasoning under it and a little bit more maturity, it'll be something that we could probably leverage. But for now, Google Colab's working out really well. So let's talk about the code. So high level, I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm just making these available for you to understand kind of high level what we're doing. So we're going to have an import section, just like we've had before. There's no change to that. We'll be using Torch. We'll be creating a pipeline. We'll be using display and time libraries. Time's going to be an important one because we're going to be using a sleep function to pause on each iteration of the conversation. That's more for our purposes as humans, so that we can stop the code, stop the machine, so that we can actually observe what it's doing. Otherwise, you just take the timer off and just let it go, and it can have a conversation at the speed of light, essentially, with itself. So, which is kind of cool. But for us, being able to debug it and see what happens, we have to use a time library to pause the code. Okay. So then we're going to have a text generation pipeline. You've seen this before. I'm just adding in some extra details for you: the pipeline, the model, the torch type, the D type rather, the data type, the remote code, the device map. This just helps to kind of give a little bit more narrative explanation to each one of the different. I just wanted to add a little bit more so that you could refer back to this lecture to understand what each part of the code is doing. So we're going to be doing that. You've seen this already in your code. This is just a little bit more explanation for that. We're going to build a Python function, and we're going to call it an interactive self-conversation function. And that's the main function that actually manages the LLM execution of the conversation with itself. It manages the prompting as well as the looping structure. So that's what the function's going to do. And then we're going to have within the code, there's going to be a question prompting mechanism. And there's a reason why we need to do it this way is that we need to be able to, for it to continue to build on its conversation, we 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 don't have to do it this way, but I'm prefacing it that I am preferring that it be done this way, if that makes sense. So I would like for this code to end with a question each time. And so, what you can do to make sure that the large language model continues to have a conversation with itself is you ask it a generic, what are your thoughts on this, right? Question mark, or what are your thoughts? Question mark. You can play with different open-ended question strategies, or strategy rather, to affect different outputs. But I imagine, regardless however you phrase it, that might be a great area for us to explore um, from a research perspective. Like, what is this output question, open-ended question strategy? Different variations create different conversational outputs. So that could be something that you can dive into. We're just gonna build out the code, and then you can kind of play with it, and get it going to suit your needs. Okay, I think that's pretty much it, right? I mean, we're gonna extend it. We're gonna run through, and I'm gonna build some code out by hand, and then I'm gonna extend that with a generative AI. So there's gonna be the lab. We're gonna use Gemini as partly with the next lab. I'm gonna get it started. So I'm gonna code out the Python piece that does the self prompting. But then I'm gonna, because I do want to not lose out on our ability to have an AI coding assistant sitting next to us. That's super helpful. It's super useful. And again, I don't want us to lose sight of using AI to help us with this. So we've explored how to create the high level mechanics of what a self auto feeding mechanism might look like from a coding perspective. And we're using a pre-trained NLP model, which in this case is Dolly. So we've talked about that. We've been working with that, and we can walk away from this lecture with next step with one, an overview of the code, and then two, we're going to go out and build it. We're going to run on over to for next steps. We're going to go ahead and just start engineering the last little bit of what it is that we need to build out. Okay, so we're getting closer towards the end of the semester. If you have any questions, of course, feel free, or rather, end of this class, which is getting close to the end of the semester here. But feel free to reach out to me if you've got any questions. As always, I'm here to help. And there'll be more news to come on the final assignment. So I'll talk more about that next week. And then there'll be time baked in on the very last week of the course, so that you have time to work on your final project. If you've got any questions on that, feel free again, hit me up, and I'm here to help. With that, let's go head on over to our final lab and get moving. All right.